So hello, my name's Neil McGuire, and I was going to talk today about the project we did for This Will Ruin Everything in collaboration with Imogen Ayres. And for this project, we've created two typefaces, VD and BB. They're available to download, or they will be, on that date, which is the end of next month from that website. Activate the moot point slide. Okay, so apologies to anyone with a hangover. I thought I'd use today to try and claim that the discussion around art and design is a valid one, but there are often a few moot points within it, such as trying to distinguish the two by their differences, rather than talk about the relationships and dependencies between those two things. So what I do, I'm a designer. I do projects that cover educational things, architectural things, I do some art projects. As a graphic designer, I usually spend maybe like 95% of my time trying to hit that middle bit in the diagram there. Anyway, yeah, so that's a bit of background about me. Imogen is a typographer and designer. She runs her own type foundry called Mobile Type. The Few and Doves are a couple of typefaces that we've worked on together before, and it was really nice to get this invitation as a chance to kind of work together on another project. So for This Will Ruin Everything, we've created two banners, and it's a double-sided banner. On one side it says 90-minute bigots, and on another side it says do we not bleed. These are both typefaces based on found type, so typefaces that we've discovered in the city, or in a city. BB comes from this beautiful sticker that I found on a street sign in Glasgow, 2016. Billy Boys, probably everyone will know, is a song used by Rangers, referring to the Brigton Boys, a Protestant street gang, founded by lovely British fascist Billy Fullerton in the 1930s. Interestingly, it's to the tune of Marching Through Georgia, which is a tune by an American slave abolitionist, so interesting. But anyway, VD is from a shop awning in Venice. I was drawn to this just because it's so amazing. It's an amazing combination of ambition coupled with a sort of formal lack of awareness. Anyway, I can say with some degree of confidence that in the Pecha Kucha global network, this is the only time that there's ever been a full slide image of David Murray, former chairman of Rangers Football Club. The phrase 90-minute bigots is one that he coined, apparently, to refer to Rangers fans, and I suppose in some ways to sort of try and explain maybe some of the kind of sectarian behavior that was kind of going on at the ground. And I suppose these things are interesting to me because I'm interested in what's connected to a typeface. So the typeface has a visual appearance, but it also has a whole load of kind of history and associations connected with it. We think about that in the current context of the DUP, hard borders potentially between Ireland and the UK, Brexit, etc. The phrase "do we not bleed" comes from The Merchant of Venice. This is Al Pacino, obviously playing Shylock. Again, an interesting kind of connection there, I guess, about kind of persecuted religions, minorities. The interesting thing about the quote "do we not bleed" is it's a claim for equality or equivalence, but actually it goes on to make that case in a very negative way, so saying that kind of human behavior is fundamentally pretty base and that we are all as base as each other rather than we are all as good as each other. But anyway, that's where that phrase comes from. So this is just sort of describing some of the process of how we made the slides, their slides. That's how we made the typeface, okay? So this is just sort of showing some of that process. And we used the letters that we did have to kind of create the letters that we didn't have. So it's taking forms and looking at how they might be able to be expanded into kind of a full alphabet. So the final form of the banner is kind of flag-like to allude to, I guess, kind of banners, flags, etc. And the reason for switching the two phrases, so the one that relates to Rangers is then done in the Venice typeface. Oh, that was very quick. Yeah, I've just overridden it. Is that okay? It was only up for 1 second. You all saw that? Okay, right. Okay. It did it. Look there. Anyway, right. Okay. Those are some of the kind of design decisions that were kind of going on behind the kind of the design of the typeface. What does this tell us about art, design, and the relationship between the two? I quite like to sort of talk about what I do as being undisciplined, because it's sounds a bit messy and a bit vague, and I think it's good to try and not let you be pinned down too much. This is a guy, Alex Coles, who's written some quite interesting books about the relationship between design and art. The one on the top right, I might have broken it now actually, but anyway, that's quite good. So the one on the top right is about, I guess, how the art market started to kind of capitalize on design once it became fully saturated. So sort of star designers became kind of started selling their work as art. So it's a kind of like capitalist drive to kind of turn design into art so it can be sold for a higher price. So we could also look back as well in time, I guess, and think about whether this is actually like a relatively new obsession, the idea that we kind of separate architecture, art, and design out. This is Eric Gill, and obviously even closer at home, Margaret and Charles McIntosh, modernists like Max Bill, who's a typographer and sculptor. Eric Gill, I think, is interesting because he worked without barriers across sculpture, art, and typography. He's also said to have worked without barriers in relation to having sex with his own Labrador and members of his own family. But anyway, that's enough about bestiality. Okay, also I know that's a golden retriever, but I put it up deliberately to if anyone tweets in about how that's a golden retriever, that's like a trap for the Twitter crowd. Anyway, right, so what happens when these things start to work together? Interested in looking at these two typefaces, how they could maybe be used in combination. And just coming back to that idea of things being dependent on each other, I think it's a much more kind of productive discussion about art and design to think about how art and design are lines of communication. What are the lines of communication rather than what are the points of difference between the two? One of the things that I'm very good at is buying books and then just reading the back cover of them. So I often maybe misquote or misrepresent things, but there's an interesting theory by the philosopher Chantal Mouffe talking about spaces of agonism. So also seeing that points of conflict are actually shared points, they're points of common ground, and can be creative spaces as well. It's too quick, right? I can't explain why I put that up, but again, apologies if anyone's got a hangover and has to look at this. I think it was about trying to say that there's a kind of, I guess, a political urge to want to divide everything up and to kind of compartmentalize everything. This person saying that we should pay for our education because it's of benefit to us rather than benefit to society as a whole, et cetera, et cetera. Right, bye.